Hey everyone, welcome to day 34. Today is the 5th of April. Today we're going over management access. So first of all, I just want to refresh what is Kubernetes and what does it solve. And I have an image here. So pretty much Kubernetes, it's made out of the main node or managing node or control plane, and then worker nodes, right? This is just a quick architecture. The control plane have components like API server and scheduler, etcd, control manager. Each they do their own thing, right? And then you got worker nodes, which has the pods, which are the smallest, smallest unit in Kubernetes. And so to keep going on from this, so a pod is, first of all, it's very easy to it's called ephemeral. It's very easy to die, meaning can like a pod can shut down or close depending on, or reset whenever whenever you're scaling or whenever something new pops up. So they're always changing, and then whenever a pod dies, a new one will replace it, but it will have a different IP. So it's kind of hard that every time it crashes or restarts, there's a new IP, and it's hard to keep track of which pod you're actually talking to. And if you've pointed to a certain IP, then maybe the next day it'll be a new pod and the IP will be different, and then things will get messy. So that's where services come in. Service, or SVC, is a permanent IP address and a DNS name that routes traffic to the right pods, even if the pods die or they move or they get updated or anything. And pretty much so it acts like a load balancer inside your cluster. So instead of directly talking to the pods, your app will instead talk to the service, and then the service will direct it to a healthy pod. And then after that, there are a few types of services you should know, and how to I've got that here, but kubectl get svc will be showing you the different types of services you have. But imagine obviously you don't want your database to be accessed by public, and so that's why you'll make something called an internal service, but the IP address will be as you've seen, it'll be a bunch of numbers, but you don't want that to be, you want it to be in this format, right? HTTPS and then whatever you call your app. And this is what Ingress does. So here's an image to help convey what I'm trying to say. So let's say you want users to visit https myapp.com. You would expose your app with a load balancer service, but let's say you have 10 apps, and there'll be 10 load balancers, right? So that's takes up a lot. So instead you use Ingress. So how it works is it's like a reverse proxy that routes your external HTTP or HTTPS traffic to your internal service based on the path or hostname or whatever. So it's like a smart way. So let's say I want to access something, it will take it to Ingress. Ingress will give it to the service, and the service will pick out the right pod. So yeah, Ingress will forward it to the service, and yeah. So this will be all handled by just one load balancer and one Ingress controller, which makes it a lot easier. So yeah, the image, as you can see, the users will make a request to, let's say, myapp.com, and Ingress will take it, receive it, and check the path, and then it will forward it to the right service, which directs it to the right pod, the healthy pod too. And then lastly, we got config maps and secrets. So first of all, what is config map? Imagine you've got an app that needs some config values like environment variables or database URLs. So instead of you hard coding these values into your app or Docker image, where you will change it whenever you update, you can externalize them using a config map. And that way, if you need to update the config, you don't have to rebuild your app, you just change the config map. So here's how you do it. kubectl create config map, and then there will be a YAML file as well. Most of the things in Kubernetes is YAML, but then obviously there are some things that we don't want the public to see. some secret data that we want to keep secret. So that's where secrets come in. Pretty much did the same thing as config max, but for more confidential data like passwords or credentials, API keys, or some certificates. So Kubernetes will store them in. They can store them in secrets. It's super useful when when you're pushing to GitHub repos and you don't want obviously like API keys and stuff to be visible to others. So what you do is you create a secret with kubectl create a secret, and it'll be like a YAML file, and you can add whatever you want there that you don't want others to see. So yeah, so just remember config max for just regular config settings and secrets for anything that's too sensitive to be shown to public. So yeah, that's everything for today. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.